Hi, everyone. Welcome to the first virtual Read-InFluencers event. What is a Read-Influencer? A Read-Influencer is someone who influences the community and reading and spreading literacy and spreading their influence. And we can do this by introducing books to our youth and encourage them to read daily. We have some wonderful guests that will be with us today. We have our special guest speaker, Noel Silver, who will be joining us in 7 o'clock. And today we have our Mighty Young Text who will be joining us as well to read with us and share with you their stories. And we hope the whole community is invited to come to this event and enjoy some wonderful reading by a special guest. Right now, we have Sergeant Quincy Grigsby. You know I'm going to falter with that. Please correct me. And we have Danny Rodriguez and Antoinette Michael. Wonderful. Could you tell your audience something about yourself?
I've been with the MTA police for approximately 13, 14 years. I've been in law enforcement for about 18 in total. I followed this career path because I wanted to make a small contribution towards the solution. You got to be in it to win. So I saw a couple of police officers when I was young, and I figured, you know what? I wanted to be a role model like they were to me. And with that, I'll pass to my partner.
Hi, everyone. My name is Officer Antoinette Michael. Have been with the MTA Police for about 15 years now. I decided to become a police officer to help my family and to help the community. Prior to policing, I was a social worker for 10 years. I worked with homeless women and children, so I used those skills as a social worker to make me a better police officer.
Excellent. So I have the least amount of time. These guys have more experience, but I grew up in Brooklyn. So my name is Quincy Grigsby. And that's what really influenced me, because growing up in Brooklyn, I saw the police, but none of them looked like me. So I wanted to one day, I said, I want to do what they're doing. And after high school, right after high school, I joined the military. When I came out the military, I went to Hunter College, got a degree. So my choices were either go full-time military, but I signed up for the NYPD first. I was an NYPD officer for 3 years. And then I was fortunate to come to the MTA Police for 10 years. And the reason why I love this Mighty Young Text program, when we got the invitation, is from an early age, my mother told me the key to success is to read. So when you go in my room as a young child, a bookshelf was built around my room, all full of books. And
Excellent.
As many books as possible. So we're very happy to be here.
Oh, I'm so glad that we're humbled to have you. I've expressed to you many times since we have communicated together. So I would like to give more information to our youth. So what do you guys do to keep up your energy and positive attitude, especially in the field that you're in?
Drink a lot of coffee.
I love that.
That's the first thing in the morning.
Okay.
He's a vegetarian. Yeah, to keep up energy.
Oh, well, I have an 11-year-old, and I'm running around with her with Girl Scouts, reading books, just things like that. That keeps me.
I have a few more. I have a 10-year-old, a 9-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 3-year-old.
Oh my goodness.
So I always have enough energy, and that's the key to life. You want to make sure that you have a balanced life, so you don't give 100% to work, and then when you go home, you're exhausted. So you have to have time for your wife, your children, your friends, your family, and work. So enjoying what you're doing gives you a lot. So you always want to find something that you enjoy doing.
Excellent. I try to keep my life as well harmonious. That's what I say, harmonious, that we all could work together. Um, so, what advice would you give your younger self? And what we could tell the young people out there, what advice could we give your younger self now that you're in this point in life? If you could go back and say, now you said the reading, which is wonderful. That's what we want to encourage.
Well, since I was a kid, my mom always made sure birds of a feather flock together. She tried to make sure that I stayed away from the wrong crowd.
Oh,
And
yeah.
even though at that time I was a little naive and I didn't really understand the concept behind it, it actually kept me out of a lot of trouble because I was not the one seeking trouble, but the ones that were around were sometimes seeking trouble.
Yeah.
And her guidance, her wisdom, or her intimidation factor kind of guided me in the right direction.
That'll do it.
Yeah. You guys are wonderful. I think I think most of our community and particularly the youth do not believe or see that we're so personable and that we're humans as well. And we go through struggles, we go through conflict, just like anyone else, even though we have titles that we have to be in a supervisory role, which is so interesting. And I think that we need to make sure we provide the correct information so that we can guide our youth and even the older community members into understanding our different roles and how they factor into keeping society harmonious as well. We're always going to experience difficulties, but we also want to be able to understand. That's how we learn to communicate. And I can't express enough how humbled I am to have you here, and sharing and donating of your time to read to our youth and encouraging literacy in everyday life. One more question I would like to ask is, what would you say in one experience, it doesn't have to be detailed, that one of your favorite experience in your career so far? Now, because of your job title and what you experience, you think that everything is going to be just negative, but I'm pretty sure that you have encountered something that you say, this was my most favorite experience because it helped me to uh do something positive in the next step. It could have been early in career. It could have been just yesterday, because these experiences happen all the time. How would you answer that?
Um, for me, I'll say in my current position as an investigator, or uh, I process those individuals who want to become police officers. I am happy to say that we have been able to increase the amount of women on the force. So, as a female, and when I'm able to hire other females, I feel that that's a good thing.
That is.
Yeah, and for me, anytime I help, it's a great thing. So I always wanted to be someone who helps solve crimes. So I worked very hard in the beginning of my career to become a detective, and detective work is nice. So you imagine if you're unfortunate, someone takes some of your belongings, and you actually get that back, or there's the bad person is told that they can't do that anymore. So I think that's what it's all about. But the most rewarding has been, as my coworker said, the last 2 years in the applicant investigation unit, where we go out and we do recruitment, and we set up a table. We have done Harlem Week, we've been to the Javits Center, we've been to colleges, and just for other youth to see us. So, and hopefully we make an impact. You see us, if we're here, that means you could be here. And it all starts with how the decisions that you make in your youth. And I enjoy seeing those, you listen to mom, you did the right thing, you graduated school, and now you're in a position. And it doesn't have to be police work. Any job that you want, always remember that your reputation is very important.
Absolutely. I agree. You guys are such wonderful role models for our youth, both male and female. and we need more of them in our community. So you're here today to read a book.
Yes.
To our youth and to our community and all our listeners out there in our audience. And the book that we have that you're going to be reading is I Am Every Good Thing. I tell you, the title alone just makes me wonder, because we're so full of negativity. We don't know where we're coming from, where we're going, where we're at the moment. But we have to believe that things that we do, if we try our hardest, that we can produce good fruit and we will make it every good thing. But you have to believe what you are. And so I'm going to put that screen up and we can share with our audience and they can read along with us. And I'm just going to disappear for a moment, but I am here so I don't block the words. So I Am Every Good Thing by Derek Barnes and illustrated by Gordon C. James. Are you able to see it well?
Yes.
Excellent.
We don't see the words.
There we go. Let's see what happened there. Okay.
Bigger than little bigger.
What is that?
There you go.
Maybe how about on the
Oh,
computer?
right over here, so.
I don't know what the second word is. I am a nonstop ball of energy. Ready?
Yep.
I am a nonstop ball of energy, powerful and full of light. I am a go-getter. A difference makes a leader. I am every good thing that makes the world go round. You know, like gravity. Or the glow of mushrooms over a field of snow, brand new snow. Oh, there it is.
Ah.
I am every good thing that makes the world go round, you know, like gravity or the glow of moonbeams over a field of brand new snow. I am good to the core, like the center of a cinnamon roll. Yeah, that's good.
I am skateboard tricks, scrape knees and elbows. But you know what? I am right back on my feet again. I am one eye open, one eye closed, peeking through a microscope, gazing through a telescope, checking out the spaces around me and plotting out those far off places I have yet to go, but will. I am a gentleman and a scholar. I am kind and polite, like yes, ma'am, and yes, sir, helping my grandmother cross the street and saying, bless you, when a stranger has to sneeze.
I am cool breeze. A perfect paper airplane that glides for blocks, for miles, forever.
I am a roaring flame of creativity. I'm a lightning round of questions and a star-filled sky of solutions. I'm an explorer, planting a flag on every square foot of this planet where I belong. I'm a sponge, soaking up information, knowledge, and wisdom. I want it all, and I am all ears.
I am Saturday mornings in the summertime. I am two bounces and a front flip off the diving board. I am hilarious. I am the life of the party. I am that smile forming on your face right now.
I'm the boom bap, boom boom bap. When the bass line thumps and the kick drum jumps. I'm the perfect beat, the perfect rhyme, keeping everything on point and always on time. But you already know that.
I am a grand slam, bases fully loaded. I'm a nasty two-handed dunk, holding on to the rim. Just to remind you that I'm still the man. Believe that. I am undisputed, the undisputed champion. I am the highlight reel of magnificence. I am the celebration, the applause, and the standing ovation. I am victory.
I am a brother, a son, a nephew, a favorite cousin, a grandson. I am a friend. I am real. I am tight hugs, a hand to hold, a shoulder to cry on if you have to. I hope you never have to. I am here.
Although I am sometimes like a superhero, every now and then I'm afraid. I am not what they might call me, and I will not answer to any name. That is my own. I'm sorry, that is not my own. I am what I say I am.
I am that sound in the forest when the mighty tree falls. I am the waves crashing gently on the shore. I am the force of nature, a miracle, a blessing.
I am brave. I am hope. I am my ancestors' wildest dream.
What's up? It's not cooperating.
No problem.
Come on.
I'm helping join.
I am worthy of success, of respect, of safety, of kindness, of happiness.
And without a shadow of a doubt, I am worthy to be loved. I am worthy to be loved.
Yeah.
Excellent reading, guys. That was wonderful. And I tell you, that was a very powerful book. And it lends to what you were expressing and communicating to our community about you're good. You can be anything you want to be, and you have to always have that respect with you as you go. And where did you say it started?
As a munchkin.
As a munchkin. That's true. As a munchkin, because you know that we got to have that instilled in our youth everywhere we go. Absolutely. And so Thank you so much for reading for us. Do you have any parting words of wisdom that you can offer our youth and our community who are listening to you right now?
I would say dream big. You can be whatever you put your mind to. Just work hard and you can have it. You can do it.
I would say always keep good company because you want to be able to make good decisions when the time comes. And one of the biggest things for me is even though it wasn't popular to become a police, it probably still is not popular to become a police officer. You have to, at some point in your life, make a decision. And when you make that decision, you want to be the best that you could be. You want to treat people with courtesy, be respectful, be professional. And the world will, you're gonna make a good contribution to the world. So thank you again.
I believe there's no substitute for hard work. When you want something, you have to determine what you're willing to sacrifice for it. So that might be not playing a video game for 2 hours and dedicating some study time. Power perceived is power achieved. You have to focus on what you want and make certain small goals to achieve it. Just because you can't climb Mount Everest in one day. So you have to go step by step, and make the sacrifices necessary to achieve.
Yes. There's a chart called a SMART goals, which means small, measurable, and achievable goals. Because sometimes I believe that in society, and this includes adults as well, that they become sometimes overachiever, which is okay, but I think they overwhelm themselves with too many goals at one time instead of just achieving it in small steps. And that's a great advice to give our youth and those who might be struggling with trying to reach success or what they consider success, because success is receptive and is depends on the person themselves. But I thank you guys so much. Your presence here is I'm just overwhelmed by your presence and your advice that you're giving our youth, and that you took the time out of your busy schedule to share your life and your work and your advice with everyone here. And I know that you some of you will be able to join us tomorrow with another story. Danny is going to be there with us. Good job. And I can't wait to see you. Thank you, Sergeant Grisby and Antoinette Michael, for joining us as well. I can't tell you enough how grateful we are to hear your input and to give us that positive message to our global community.
Thank you very much for having us.
All right. Bye-bye. Okay, guys, we're going to go quickly to our youth reader, Lavender, who is going to be reading a story. We're going to break to a commercial first before we begin. All right, we're going to break to our commercial. back. Okay, we are back. And we have one of our mighty young techs, Melanie Lavender. And we were going to have her read a special book. I'm just going to disappear for a moment.
And I'm reading Pepe and the Parade, a celebration of a celebratory Hispanic heritage. Written by Tracy Kyle, illustrated by Read. Or Pepe wakes up early. There's a festival today. He's going to the city with his family. Ole. Amigos and familias will attend a celebration honoring Hispanic people all across the nation. Pepe could not wait to see his friends and eat paletas and hear the mariachis play guitars and trompetas. Mommy makes a special breakfast filled with love and care. The smell of chilaquiles and frijoles warms the air. Abuelo talks of heritage, tradition, and países, and says it's a festival to showcase their races. Today is special. Pepe for the history of pride and millions of Hispanics who are living by her side. Pepe makes some little flags and wants to color more, but Mommy interrupts him. Let's get ready, por favor. Pepe loves his jersey, made of red colores. Mommy is enchanting in her falda lined with flores. Abuela has a thing for hats and wears a white sombrero. Papi looks so dashing. Mommy cries, mi caballero. The city burns with energy and Pepe feels the pride, remembering Abuela's words Hispanic by her side. Pepe spots some friends from school who are Hispanic too. Ana is from Ecuador and Lalo's from Peru. Dylan is Dominican, Andre is Panameño. Carla is Colombian, Thomas is Hondureño. Juan is Nicaragua. Teresita is Chilena. Sara is both Puerto Rican and Salvadoreña. Max is Guatemalan. Santiago is Cubano. Pepe wants to join his friend and thinks soy Mexicano. Abella waves him over. It's our turn to walk now. Vámonos. Pepe hugs his puppy, saying, todos celebramos. Abuelo shakes maracas. People love the clack clack sound. Pepe holds his little flags and waves them all around. Mambo, salsa, rock, bachata, cumbia, reggaeton. Pepe hears the mariachi start a canción. The rhythm of Latin music floats on down the street. Pepe and his friends are dancing, bouncing to the beat. Pepe gets his friend to taste cornitas y gorditas, the creamy guacamole and the side of papas fritas. Abuela takes a picture. Pepe jumps into a pile of laughing, happy, noisy kids. Abuela chuckles, smile. That night when Pepe heads to bed, he feels very proud. He knows the day was special. He could sense it in the crowd. He feels he falls asleep, so grateful for the fun he had today, and knows that next year's festival is just 12 months away.
Thank you, Lavender, for that wonderful story that you read, everyone who are our listeners. If you're just joining us, guys, welcome to the first virtual Read Influencers event, where we are going to influence you to read and spread the literacy and spread your influence. That was just Lavender, who just read a book to us named Pepe and This Parade. I can tell you, I would have loved to have been in that parade with Pepe. How many of you would have loved to have been in the parade? We have our second reader, Tiny. Tiny must be very tiny because I cannot see Tiny. And I would love to see Tiny. And I know our audience will. Tiny, could you tell us which book you are reading for us today? Well, hopefully we're not having any audio issues on that side. So we're going to continue. So we're here today to celebrate, in addition to Black History Month, but also to spread literacy and to spread your influence. And how can we influence our youth? By asking them and encourage them to read. Read every day, spread literacy. It is very important that we read because it will also progress into writing better and also speaking better in front of audiences and to each other. We have already had some wonderful guests on, Sergeant Grisby, Mrs. Michael, and Danny Rodriguez, who had just left us a wonderful message about starting early, making sure you choose your environment and your friends carefully because they will have an influence on you. And so sometimes that influence can be negative, but we also want it to be positive. But we can learn from all our mistakes while we're young. But as we grow, we have to always think about it and consider, how did it turn out? What did it bear for us? Was it a positive experience or a negative? And then we learn from those and we continue on in life. But one thing that I brought out of that information that our guests had delivered was that we need to communicate and we need to read and we need to respect our elders and the messages that they tell us and their stories that they impart upon us, because they have been there and they understand it. And the world does change all the time, but some things just don't change over time, and we know that. So I just love the message. If you missed it, please join us tomorrow. We'll have our special guest return and share that information to you and be an influence in your life. We're going to stop for a quick break again as we transition to our next story. Okay, we are back to our first virtual Read Influencers event. We have Tiny who will begin to read the book that she's prepared to read. And I just want to go back into the importance of literacy in a child's development. Now, we have in education, we have reading specialists and we have educators that have long known that literacy and that ability to read and write is very important, but it's tied to everything that we do. They're all connected in social situations and in practice. And when we use it, because as I tell the mighty in Texas, not what you're taught, is what you learn and apply. So when you are taught something and you learn it, you have to now apply what you have learned to increase your knowledge and understanding of its application. So today, literacy is evolving into something much more than reading a newspaper. We know that we can go online, we can Google everything that we want. We can read newspapers, we can read magazines, we can read the latest books online. And so for many educators out there, um, accessing this information and using it intelligently and culturally and the capabilities electronically are just vast. In the workplace, when you get older and you get your first job, you're becoming proficient in the computer programs. Now, we know that those are haptic skills that we're using, and we know that we can use this to research and also to resolve complex problems or handle multiple problems for those who are multitasking. But from navigating the internet and literacy is always evolving, where we have gained access to literary works that we may not have had access to before. In our neighborhood library, it may not contain all the books that a larger library may have. And now the internet has become our worldwide library. So regardless of the definition that's shifting with literacy, we know it's still essential to developing a strong sense of well-being and a societal citizenship, becoming a member of literacy and in our community. We know that if you read, you perform better because you understand what you're reading and you understand it, so you can have a better self-image. And when you're reading content that is relevant to your culture, that also instills in you a sense of pride and comprehension about your heritage. Now, we know that many of us don't have access to books. Maybe the library is too far for us to visit. Maybe we're reluctant to apply and get a library card. And some of us just don't have access to the internet at all. So our closest way that we encounter reading is in the classroom, where our classroom has books available and we have a school library. And we know that literacy plays a strong role in us to progress in other subject matter and areas. Unfortunately, we know that some libraries are being closed and being um, separated from the educational field and not making that connection there and being replaced by housing. Not that we don't need housing, but we have to be mindful of what we need in order for society to progress literally. So when we talk about these things in literacy, we want to encourage our young children to instill in them the love of reading from the beginning. And there's just so many genres that you can introduce your children to: science fiction, nonfiction, horror, drama, scientific. We can introduce any type, poetry, and we could just take 10 minutes a day to just read a story or even just a chapter, just a page. Even a picture book instills conversation with you and your child at home. So we definitely want to encourage that literacy in our home and spread your literacy and spread your read influence. We're going to have Tiny read for us now at this time a wonderful book by a friend of mine, actually, Lisa Klein Ransom, Before She Was Harriet, and is illustrated by James E. Ransom, who is her husband. He has illustrated many books, and Lisa Klein has also written many books, and they're just a wonderful family. I'm just going to disappear into the background while our Miss Tiny begins to read.
Before She Was Harriet by Lisa Klein Ransom, illustrated by James E. Ransom. Here she sits, an old woman, tired and worn, her legs stiff, her back achy. But before wrinkles formed and her eyes failed, before she reached her twilight years, she could walk for miles and see clearly under a sky lit only with stars. Before she was an old woman, she was a suffragist, a voice for women who had none in marriages and courts, in voting booths. Before her voice became soft and raspy, it was loud and angry, rising above injustice. Before she was a suffragist, she was General Tubman, rising out of the fog, armed with courage, strong in the face of rebels and planters and overseers, as they watched fields burn and bridges fall, and 700 slaves, and chopping and running to a woman who fired them to freedom on the Combahee River, turned River Jordan. Before she was General Tubman, she was a Union spy carrying secrets across battlefields to soldiers fighting in the Civil War for President Lincoln to end slavery. Before she was a Union spy, she was a nurse caring for those hit with bullets and hated and fear, tending to them with bandages and words in the blooded dirt of southern soil. Before she was a nurse, she was Aunt Harriet, daughter of Ben and Rick, who helped her parents flee their master and find their way through woods and streams to the safety of Canada and a new home in North. Before she was Aunt Harriet, she was Moses, a conductor on an underground railroad with no trains and no track, just passengers traveling to freedom up north through swamps, just past slave catchers, across rivers under the cover of night. Seeking the promised land for her people, led by dreams and God and faith, and was of woman with courage of a lion. Before she was Moses, she was Minty of Maryland, of one slave owner, and then others who worked her, punished her with leashes, broke her back, but not her spirit. Before she was Minty, she was Arminta, a young girl taught by her father to read the woods and the stars and night, ready for the day. She leave behind slavery along with her name and pick a new one, Harriet. And remember her days as a suffragist, a general, a spy, as a nurse, as Aunt Harriet, and Moses as a conductor. As Minty, as Arminta, who dreamed of living long enough to one day be old, stiff and achy, tired and worn with wrinkles and free. The end.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful reading. Thank you, Tiny, for that. She just read. How many of you knew that her name was Araminta? What a very nice name. But unfortunately, she had to change it. So we have learned so much today in different uh, books that we have learned. And many of us know Harriet Tubman. We know that she freed many slaves, but we didn't know what she was doing before she actually became the Harriet Tubman of the Underground Railroad. And we thank Mrs. Klein Ransom for her insightful book to give us a backstory of what she was doing as her youth. And that is what we're doing today. We're reaching out to the youth to let them know there's always a story about your meager beginnings, or you don't think that you don't have anything that is for the future. And I can tell you, success is right there, right on your shoulders, just waiting for your wings to come out and blossom and take off like a monarch butterfly. So, Harriet Tubman, we know her legacy in the Underground Railroad, and we've heard some probably so many times in during Black History Month, and sometimes in our history book, that she was an escaped enslaved woman who became a conductor on this Underground Railroad and leading the enslaved people to freedom before the Civil War. And this is all the while she was wanted. So we know that. But we found out in this book that she was also a nurse. She was a suffragist. She supported those initiatives. And we did not know, as our tiny reader has expressed, her nickname Araminta. Her name was Araminta, and she had to change it. Isn't that just interesting? And they called her short Minty for short. So we learned all those things. This is why literacy, we cannot impress upon you enough that we're going to find so much wonderful information, something that will excite us, something that we will find out new just by opening the pages of a book and just looking at the pictures. And we start so uh, subtle when we pick up a book. First, we want to look at the pictures. How exciting is that we look at the colors, the way it's designed, and then we look at those words. And we can try to read them, and we can ask others to help us read the book so that we can gain an understanding, a picture of life around us and things unknown. Thank you so much, Tiny, for reading to us. And Lavender has read Pepe. We're going to take another 1 minute break and we'll be back. Okay, guys, we're back from our break. And if you're just joining us, welcome to our first virtual Read Influencers event, where we're here to read to you and influence and spread literacy and spread your influence. I'm going to be reading a book today that is endear to me on several levels. So, part of my nationality is I am African American and I am also Asian. The book I'm reading to you today is by Young Suk Choi, and this is a Korean book. What is endearing to me is because I and my Mighty M text, we are learning Korean. And it's very interesting that when you come sometimes from another country, many times you adapt or adopt an American sounding name and you forgo your name that's indicative of your culture so that you can fit in. But you know what? Let's see what happens in this book, The Name Jar, and see what happens to our character in this book. The Name Jar by Young Suk Choi. Through the school bus window, Yuhei looked out the strange buildings and houses on the way to her new school. It was her first day, and she was both nervous and excited. She fingered the little block of wood in her pocket and remembered leaving her grandmother at the airport in Korea. Her grandmother had wiped away Yunhei's tears and handed her an ink pad and a small red satin pouch. "Your name is inside," she had said. "My name?" Yunhei had wondered. Again she took out the red pouch to look at the wooden block with her name carved in it. As she ran her fingers along the grooves and ridges of the Korean characters, she pictured her grandmother's smile. "Is that thing for show and tell?" a boy asked Yuhan, surprising her. Yuhan looked up as more kids leaned over. "No, it's mine," Yuhan answered, quickly putting the pouch back in her pocket. "Are you new here? What's your name?" a girl asked. "Yuhan," said Yuhan. "Une?" the girl asked, scrunching up her face. "Ooh, ooh, ooh, Une," some kids chanted. No, Yuhei corrected. "It's spelled Unhei. It's pronounced Yunhei." "Oh, it's Yuhei," the boy said. "Like Yuhei? What about hey you?" Just then, the bus pulled up to the school and the doors opened. Yuhei hurried to get off. "Yuhei, bye-bye," the kids yelled as she left. Yuhei felt herself blush. Yuhei stood in the doorway of her new and noisy classroom. She was relieved that the kids on the bus had gone to other rooms, but her face still felt red. "Well, aren't you going to go in?" asked a curly-haired boy with lots of dots on his face. "You're the new girl, right?" he asked cheerfully. Yue nodded, and before she could walk away, the boy took her hand and pulled her through the door. "Here's the new girl," he announced so loudly that the teacher, Mr. Kokotos, almost dropped his glasses. Mr. Kokotos thanked him and greeted Yuhei. "Please welcome our newest student," he said to the class. "She and her family just arrived from Korea last week." Yuhei smiled broadly and tried not to show her nervousness. "What's your name?" someone shouted. Yuhei pictured the kids on the bus. I haven't picked one, she told the class, but I'll let you know next week. As Mr. Cockatoo showed her to the desk, she felt many round, curious eyes on her. Why doesn't she have a name? She heard someone whisper. Well, maybe she robbed a bank in Korea and needs a new identity, a boy replied. On the bus home, nobody teased her, but Yue kept thinking about her name. How was school, Yunhei? Her mother asked when she walked in. Did you understand the teacher? Yunhei simply nodded. She unpacked her school bag and set the red pouch by a photograph of her grandma. I'm glad you are learning English well, her mother said. You must study hard, behave nicely, and get good grades to show that you're a good Korean. I will, replied Yunhei, but I think I would like my own American name, she said quickly. Her mother looked at her with surprise. Why? Yunhei is a beautiful name. Your grandma and I want a name master for it. But it's so hard to pronounce, Yuhang complained. I don't want to be different from all the American kids. You are different, Yunhei, her mother said. That's a good thing. Yuhang just wrinkled her nose. Later that day, Yuhang and her mother went grocery shopping in their new neighborhood. They passed Fidel's Falafas, Tony's Pizza, and Dot's Deli. A big graffiti-painted garbage truck roared like a lion as it took off down the street. Nothing sounded or looked familiar until they got to Kim's Market. The sign was in both English and Korean. Her mother picked up the cabbage to make kimchi, Korean-style spicy pickled cabbage, and other vegetables and meats. She also found some seaweed, Yuhan's favorite, for soup. It made Yuhan smile. Just because we moved to America, her mother said, doesn't mean we stop eating Korean food. At the checkout counter, a friendly man smiled at Yuhin. Helping your mother with the shopping, he asked. Yuhin nodded. I'm Mr. Kim, he said. And what is your name? Yuhin, she answered. Ah, what a beautiful name, he said. Doesn't it mean grace? Yuhin nodded again. My mother and grandmother went to a name master for it, she told him. A graceful name for a graceful girl, Mr. Kim said as he put the groceries into the bag. Welcome to the neighborhood, Yuhane. That evening, Yuhane stood in front of the bathroom mirror. Hi, my name is Amanda, she said cheerfully. Then she wrinkled her nose. Hi, my name is Laura. Maybe not. Her smile turned down. Nothing sounded right. Nothing felt right. I don't think American kids will like me, she worried as she began to brush her teeth. Hi. Money is Susie, she said to the mirror with her mouth full of toothpaste. The next morning, when Yuhei arrived at school, she found a glass jar on her desk with some pieces of paper in it. Yuhei took one out and read it aloud. Daisy? That's my baby sister's nickname, but she said you can use it if you want, said Cindy, who sat next to her. Yui took out the rest of the paper. Tamala, she read. I got it from a storybook, said Nate. She was smart and brave. Yui nodded and unfolded another piece. Wednesday? Yeah, you came here on a Wednesday, said Ralph. Thank you for your help. A smile spread over Yuhane's face. Ralph quickly said, we'll put more names in. You can pick whatever you like or pick them all. And you'll have the longest name in history. At 3 o'clock, the bell rang for the end of the school day. Yuhei looked out the window and saw it was sprinkling. It's the same rain, she thought, but in a different place. She watched other kids leaving in groups. Hey! A familiar voice called out to her. Yuhei turned around to see the curly-haired boy again. I'm Joey, he said. And you? Don't you have any name? Yuhei thought for a moment. Well, I can show you, she said, and took out a small red pouch. She pressed a wooden block on the ink pad and then stamped it on a piece of paper. This is my name stamp, she said. My grandma gave it to me. In Korea, I can use it as a signature when I open a bank account or write a letter. And whenever I miss my grandma, I use it to fill a piece of paper. Want to try it? She offered the stamp to Joey, and he carefully inked the stamp and pressed it hard on the paper. The red characters gleamed against the whiteness. Wow, that's beautiful, Joey said. Can I keep the paper? Sure, Yuhei said. And then the two of them shared her umbrella as they walked to the school bus. Every day the jar got fuller with more names, and Yuhei read them all. She found a few names she liked. Miranda, Stella, Avery. They sounded interesting. I hope you choose the name I put in, Marco told her at snack time. I put in 3 more, said Ralph. Madison, Park, and Lex. They're my favorite street names. Maybe you should close your eyes and draw a name, Rosie suggested. Ralph frowned. That's silly. What if she doesn't like the name she draws? Well, we didn't get to choose our names when we were born, did we? Rosie argued. Everyone thought about this. When Yue got home from school that day, her little brother ran to give her a letter. It was from her grandma. To my Yuhei, I hope you are enjoying your new school and new friends. Be sure to help your mother and your little brother. Here the moon is up, but there the sun is up. No matter how far apart we are, and no matter how different America is from Korea, you'll always be my Yuhei, your grandma forever. Yue took out her wooden stamp and filled a paper with it. She thought for a long time in front of the bathroom mirror. On Saturday, Yue walked to Mr. Kim's store. Mr. Kim was helping a customer, but he looked up and greeted her. Hi, Yue. Hello, Mr. Kim, Yue replied. She felt as if she was back in her old neighborhood in Korea. Hey, said the customer, turning around. It was Joey. Your name is Yuhei? He asked her with his eyes open. Yuhei looked quickly at Mr. Kim, then turned to Joey. She nodded slowly. Yes, it's pronounced Yuhei, and it means grace, Mr. Kim added. Yuhei, Joey said slowly, and this time perfectly. It made Yuhei smile. I'll have it ready for you tomorrow, said Mr. Kim to Joey. Thank you, Mr. Kim. See you Monday, Yuhei, Joey said to her. He left before she could ask him why he was at the store. On Monday, Yuhei came to class early to look at the names one last time. But the jar wasn't on her desk. Instead, there was a single piece of paper. Paper with a name on it. Yuhei slipped it in her pocket. Where's your name jar? Ralph asked as soon as he saw it was gone. I don't know, Yuhei said. It wasn't on Mr. Cockatoo's desk or any other desk, and it wasn't on the counters or any of the shelves. As other kids arrived, they helped look. Soon Mr. Cockatoo came in and Ralph shouted at them, The name jar is gone! The jar with all the names in it. Gone? Mr. Cockatoo replied. With a look of concern, he asked Yuhei, did you get a chance to read all the names? Yuhei nodded. She took a breath. I'm ready to introduce myself, she said. Yuhei wrote her name in both English and Korean on the chalkboard. I like the beautiful names and funny names you thought of me for me, she told the class. But I realized that I like my name best, so I chose it again. Korean name means something. Yuhei means grace. Grace? Grace and hey, shouted Ralph. Everyone tried to say, Yuhei. Yuhei said her name again slowly and clearly. Soon, the kids began to say it better. Even Mr. Cockatoos. They applauded Yuhei's choice. I was named after a flower, Rosie whispered to Yuhei. Lots of American names have meanings too, Mr. Cockatoos reminded everyone. And when the class was dismissed, Yuhei heard her new friend say goodbye. Bye, Yuhei. See you tomorrow. Goodbye, Yuhei. Yuhei said goodbye and then looked around for Joey, but he was already gone. Yuhei, come downstairs. Mother called up to Yuhei. Your friend is here. Yuhei rushed down to see who she met. There stood Joey, and in his arms was the name jar. Where did you find it? Asked Yuhei breathlessly. Joey looked embarrassed. Well, I took it, but only because I wanted you to keep your own name. And you did. He reached in and pulled out the names. Do you want to keep them? He asked. Thank you. I'll keep them as a souvenir, Yuhei said happily. Then she pulled out the piece of paper from her pocket. Do you want this back? Joey grinned. You could keep it. I'll return the name jar to the class. Maybe you could put some Korean nicknames in it for us. Names with good meanings. I could do that, agreed Yuhei. I've already got a Korean nickname, Joey said. Mr. Kim helped me choose it. Carefully, he pulled a small silver felt pouch from his pocket, and then he took out a dark wooden stamp with it. Beautiful Korean characters carved sharply into it. He pressed it on the ink pad and then on the piece of paper next to her name. Chinku, read Yuhei. That means friend. And Chinku smiled back. And that is the end of our story. Wasn't that a delightful story? And that's part of retaining your heritage by keeping your given name that your parents have provided you. And I know my Manny on text know how to say hi in Korean. Can we say hi in Korean together? 안녕하세요. Yes. Yes. Isn't it wonderful to discover and communicate with people of different cultures? Isn't that just a wonderful experience? Because we need to learn from other people. We need to be friendly. We need to be kind. And we need to understand. And how difficult it is on the first day of school and you're from a different land and your name sounds, weird. And you're trying your hardest to just fit in. That's very stressful, isn't it? It's very stressful to fit in. And that's where literacy comes in. Literacy comes in when we read a book, we can discover about so many different places, so many different cultures, so many of different things that we may not ever encounter in life, especially when we're young. But when we do get that moment that we do meet someone who's from a different culture or speaks a different language, we can embrace them. And guess what? We can ask questions. We know that the Mighty and Tex have encountered this. We have tried Korean food, haven't we? Authentic.
Yeah.
And we have learned how to write in Korean. And this is the experiences that we want to embrace because we can say, now we understand. They're not so different after all. Everybody, guess what? Wants to make friends. no matter where they go. And everybody wants to be liked and loved everywhere they go, no matter what their name sounds like and no matter what color their skin is. And that's why literacy brings that. When we spread literacy and we spread our influence to others in a positive way, we're going to invite that friendliness and those friends to us. I just love that story. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about Yang Suk Cho. So, I did invite her uh, last year, and she was not able to. And this is at the beginning the COVID, unfortunately. And I invited her again, but unfortunately, she was experiencing some problems. And I really wanted her to read this. Um, and she was going to be reading from Korea. So I hopefully next year she will join us and read this very touching story um, that she was a part of. And I tell you that we, during this time, we are uh, really grateful that we are here to read to each other in this capacity. Because who would have thought that we'd be virtual and be spreading the positive message of how great and how important literacy is? We're going to take a moment in our break and we'll be back with Hi, who will be reading to us. We are back and we have our reader. Hi. Hi, hi. How are you? Who will be reading a story for us at this time? I'd also would like one of our readers that have already read, and I think that we need to reread some of those stories again, especially the Pepe, because that story there, I think it meant a lot to many different cultures because it included so many different cultures and so many Hispanic cultures. So how they all come together in that part. So let's look at welcome back to those who are just joining us to our first virtual Read-InFluencers event, where we're here to spread literacy and spread your influence to our community and especially to our youth. We want to encourage the act of reading and how important it is to start reading early and just be a ferocious reader. Try to read every book that you can about different subject matter, and also be encouraged to read some subject matters that you may not have ever thought you might be interested in. Okay, so that's what we're here to spread, and not only for that, to celebrate Black History Month. And Black, is beginning to be, as a culture, we're starting to really merge together about what does it mean to be Black, because some of us don't know that, but maybe we could find that out as we research. We are going to be one day be meeting online in an adult forum where we discuss our heritage and how we came to be called the races that we are, and how really connected we are in our culture. So we're going to have uh, our reader. Let me just get their book set up. Now, for those who were coming in late, we did have a wonderful book, I Am Every Good Thing, that was read by our special guest, Sergeant Grinsby, Antoinette Michael, and Danny Rodriguez, who read a perfect and wonderful rendition and gave us a wonderful message and advice to our community and especially to our youth. We want to thank them. They will be here tomorrow. So if you missed it, come back tomorrow and listen to just how they read that story. It's a wonderful story. I Am Every Good Thing. We had Tiny read Before She Was Harriet, and we had Lavender read Pepe and the Parade. So those are wonderful. We have wonderful stories for those who have not probably read those books before, but we are here to share with you these stories. So we're going to read, and I read the Name Jar, which is a Korean book. So we're here to explore all cultures and to celebrate with us your Black History Month and your experience in Black History Month. What does it mean to you? I remember years ago that I created that because some people didn't feel like, what are you doing? What is your presence in Black History? What did you contribute? And some people don't believe that they have, but you contribute many, many things to Black History Month and just the Black experience that you may not know. We just like we don't know that Hispanic culture and other cultures we are exposed to, but when we eat different foods, we wonder what is the origin of these different foods, and how can you find out? I'll tell you. I'll whisper it really close. You go find a book that will introduce you to that. Try out some of those recipes. See where the origins are, right? Where did the potato chip come from? Where did the French fry come from? Where did the hamburger come from? Where did fried chicken come from? Who made it first? Who made guacamole? Who made empanadas? You might be surprised where it came from. And that's why we love to spread literacy, because then you go find a book and say, I wonder where did it come from? And then you get that book and then you say, wow, I never knew that. And this is what literacy is all about, and spreading your influence. How can you spread your influence? But I'm only in 3rd grade. I'm only in 2nd grade. You can spread your influence, because guess what? When you read that book, you can go tell your friends and say, listen, I think you could read this book. I think you can read this book and you will learn. And hey, why not do this recipe together? See how many books you have? There are so many books. What about fashion? I wonder where some of these clothing designs come from. Did you ever wonder about the style? Did you ever wonder about festivals? Would you ever wonder about dances? What are the influences? You may never know that it came from a different culture other than your own. And that's the only way literacy is going to help you. You have to find a book and read about it. And guess what? You can share with your friends. And guess what? You can share with your family members as well. I say embrace it, guys. That is the only way that we're going to spread that knowledge. We have our mighty young techs here today that are helping us spread literacy and spreading their influence. So let's have Hi, who's going to read their book.
Before She Was Harriet by Lisa Ransom.
Hi, could you hold up? I'm just going to put it up for everyone.
Okay.
And I'm just going to disappear, guys, but I'm still here. Okay.
Before She Was Harriet by Lisa Ransom. Illustrated by James E. Ransom. Here she sits, an old woman, tired and worn, her legs stiff, her back achy. But before wrinkles formed and her eyes failed, before she reached her twilight years, she could walk for miles and see clearly under a sky lit with only stars. Before she was an old woman, she was a suffragist, a voice for women who had none in marriages and courts and voting booths. Before her voice became soft and raspy, it was loud and angry, rising above injustice. Before she was a suffragist, she was General Tubman, rising out of the fog, armed with courage, strong in the face of rebels and planters and overseers as they watched fields burn and bridges fall, and 700 slaves stop chopping and start running to a woman who feared them to free them. On the Kambani River turned into River Jordan. Before she was General Tubman, she was a Union spy, carrying secrets across battlefields to soldiers fighting in the Civil War for President Lincoln to end slavery. Before she was a Union spy, she was a nurse, caring for those hit with bullets and hated and fear, tending to them with bandages and words in the bloody dirt of southern soil. Before she was a nurse, she was Aunt Harriet, daughter of Ben and Rich, who helped her parents flee their master and find their way through the woods and streams to the safety of Canada and a new home in the north. Before she was Aunt Harriet, she was Moses, a conductor on the Underground Railroad, with no trains and no tracks, just passengers traveling to freedom up north through swamps, past slave catchers, across rivers, under the cover of night, seeking the promised land for her people, led by dreams and God and faith, a voice of a woman with the courage of a lion. Before she was Moses, she was Minty of Maryland, of one slave owner and then others, who worked her and punished her with lashes, broke her back, but not her spirit. Before she was Minty, she was Arminta, a young girl taught by her father to read the woods and the sky and the stars, at night ready for the day. And she'd leave behind slavery, along with her name, and pick a new one, Harriet, and remember her days as a suffragist, as a gentleman, as a spy, as a nurse, as Aunt Harriet, as Moses, as a conductor, as Minty as Argentina, who dreamed of living long enough to one day be old, stiff, and achy, tired and worn and wrinkled and free. The end.
Wonderful. That was a great story and rendition by Hi. Thank you, Hi, for reading your story. And again, we learned so much more. And just the intonation coming from our youth, reading to our youth, it just lends to the part that we can read to each other and encourage each other to spread literacy and spread our read influencers. But we are junior read influencers, and we know that we're going to inspire others to read, even those who are novice read influencers. And speaking of that, we are going to be selling t-shirts. So make sure that you look for our link tomorrow, where we'll have a link so that you can purchase your shirts. And we want to spread reading, influencing others to read, no matter what age it is. Because when do you start reading? You never start reading. You always continue to read throughout your life. And also, you should keep a journal, memoirs of your reading journey. Excellent. So I want to say that we're going to take another break really quickly. And we're going to prepare to read our next story. And our next guest, our special guest, will be joining us soon, and probably in about 15 minutes. You can send it now. Okay, we are back, and we're going to have Lavender read her story and about Pepe and the parade. We all know what a parade is, a celebration of something that's happened or is happening. But I wonder what Pepe's parade is about. And we're going to find out with our wonderful reader, Lavender.
Pepe and the Parade, a celebration of Hispanic heritage by Tracy Kyle, illustrated by Marie. Uh, Pepe wakes up early. There's a festival today. He's going to the city with his family. Ole. Amigos and familia will attend a celebration honoring Hispanic people all across the nation. Pepe cannot wait to see his friends and eat paletas and hear the mariachis play guitarras and trompetas. Mommy makes a special breakfast filled with love and care. The smell of chilaquiles and frijoles warm the air. Abuela talks of heritage, traditions, and países, and says it's a festival to showcase their races. Today is special, Pepe, for the history and pride of millions of Hispanics who are living by our side. Pepe makes some little flags and wants to color more, but Mommy interrupts him. Let's get ready, por favor. Pepe loves his jersey made of red and colores. Mommy is enchanting with her falda lined with flores. Abuela has a thing for hats and wears a white sombrero. Papi looks so dashing. Mommy cries, mi caballero. The city pounds with energy and Pepe feels the pride, remembering Abuela's words, Hispanics by her side. Pepe spots some friends from school who are Hispanic too. Anna is from Ecuador and Lalo's from Peru. Dylan is Dominican and is from es Panameño. Carla is Colombian. Is Hondureño. Juan is Nicaragua. Teresita is Chilena. Sara is both Puerto Rican and Salvadoreña. Max is Guatemalan. Santiago is Cubano. Pepe wants to join his friends and thinks soy mexicano. Abuela waves him over. It's our turn to walk now. Vámonos. Pepe hugs his puppy, saying, todos celebramos. Abuela shakes maracas. People love that clack clack sound. Pepe holds his flag and waves them all around. Mamba, salsa, rock, bachata, cumbia, reggaeton. Pepe hears the mariachi start a canción. The rhythm of the Latin music floats on down the street. Pepe and his friends are dancing, bouncing to the beat. Pepe gets his friend to taste carnitas and gorditas with creamy guacamole on the side of papas fritas. Abuela, take a picture. Pepe jumps into a pile of laughing, happy, noisy kids. Abuela chuckles, smile. That night when Pepe heads to bed, he feels very proud. He knows the day was special. He could sense it in the crowd. He falls asleep so grateful for the fun he had today, and knows that next year's festival is just 12 months.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. That was a great rendition of the story Pepe with Parade. Let's just look at how the words just danced on the pages there. And I felt like I was in rhythm with that parade. How many of you felt that way? Just all those different cultures there. And they all are part of Hispanic culture. How we all blend together. Did you notice also the colors, the vibrant colors there that are indicative of the Hispanic culture? But also, there might be some similarities with other cultures as well. Now, this morning I was talking about that with some of our read influencers who are going to be coming later on, our very special guest reader. And if you don't have time, make sure you stay because you need to hear from this wonderful lady. And she's part of technology and part of leading that as well. So we want to make sure we're nice and vibrant and listening there at this time. Let me just take a moment to set up. I'm going to read a book to you. Sergeant, this afternoon we had a guest reader, Sergeant Grinsby, Antoinette Michael, and Danny Rodriguez from the MTA law enforcement. And they read a very good book, and I really feel impressed to read it to you before our special guest speaker, Read-InFluencer, arrives. So I'm going to put that book up. And it's a great book, and I think it's very inspirational for our audience and for our youth in general. It is geared towards boys, but I'm going to say that I think this kind of positive message will spread out to meet and greet everyone, no matter what age you are. And it's okay to start from the beginning. I'm going to lose my face for a minute, but remember, I'm still here. I Am Every Good Thing by Derek Barnes and illustrated by Gordon C. James. I am a non-stop ball of energy, powerful and full of light. I am a go-getter, a difference maker, a leader. I am every good thing that makes the world go round. You know, like gravity or the glow of moonbeams over fields of brand new snow. I am good to the core like the center of a cinnamon roll. Yeah, that good. I am skateboard tricks, scraped knees and elbows. But you know what? I am right back on my feet again. I am one eye open, one eye closed, peeking through a microscope, gazing through a telescope, checking out the spaces around me, and plotting out those far off places I have yet to go, but will. I'm a gentleman and a scholar. I am kind and polite, like yes, ma'am, and yes, sir, helping my grandmother cross the street and saying bless you when a stranger has to sneeze. I'm a cool breeze, a perfect paper airplane that glides for blocks, for miles, forever. I am a roaring flame of creativity. I am a lightning round of questions and a star-filled sky of solutions. I am an explorer, planting a flag on every square foot of this planet where I belong. I am a sponge, soaking up information, knowledge, and wisdom. I want it all, and I am all ears. I'm Saturday mornings in the summertime. I am two bounces and a front flip off the diving board. I am hilarious, and I'm the life of the party. I am that smile forming on your face right now. I'm the boom bop, boom boom bap, when the bass line thumps and the kick drum jumps. I'm the perfect beat, the perfect rhyme, keeping everything on point and always on time. But you already knew that. I'm a grand slam, bases fully loaded. I'm a nasty two-handed dunk, holding on to the rim just to remind you that I'm still the man. Believe that. I am the undisputed champion. I am a highlight reel of magnificence. I am the celebration, the applause, and the standing ovation. I am victory. I am a brother, a son, a nephew, a favorite cousin, a grandson. I am a friend. I am real. I am tight hugs, a hand to hold, a shoulder to cry on if you have to. I hope you never have to. I am here. Although I am something like a superhero every now and then, I'm afraid. I'm not what they might call me, and I will not answer to any name that is not my own. I am what I say I am. I am that sound in the forest when the mighty tree falls. I am waves crashing gently on the shore. I am a force of nature, a miracle, a blessing. I am brave. I am hope. I am my ancestors' wildest dreams. I am worthy of success, of respect, of safety, of kindness, of happiness. And without a shadow of a doubt, I am worthy to be loved. Mhm. I am worthy to be loved. The end. I don't know if that's the end. It doesn't sound like the end because love should be never ending, right? Don't you agree, guys? I
Yeah.
can tell you, did you? And I can tell you the our guest readers, read influencers who read this story, had the same kind of exuberance reading this story. But can you see how it can apply to just everybody, no matter what age you are? Because everybody's worthy to be loved. Don't you agree? I agree. And I know my audience agrees, and I know the youth out there, and I know the adults out there agree to it as well, that everyone is worthy of being loved, and you are every good thing. You are those waves that crash against the shore. You are those sounds of summertime, and you are that music, that boom, boom, bap, and all kinds of music that you hear. That is what makes you, the experiences that you have. And how can you experience it if you've never experienced it? Well, if you don't, or you're too young to travel, but guess what? You can experience that in a book. You can spread your literacy and spread your read influence to others and experience and just get engulfed in a book and just travel with your mind until you're able to travel or your family is able to travel to those faraway places that guess what you've only read about. So I encourage you. We're going to take a little commercial break. Our guest reader will be here very shortly. Okay, we are back, and our special guest reader should be joining us shortly. So, how's everybody feeling today? Are we feeling exuberated? If you are just joining us, thank you and welcome to our first virtual Read-InFluencers event that we're celebrating here in the month of February in honor of Black History Month and also for the National Coalition for Reading Caucus. We want to influence spreading that love of reading and literacy. We want to encourage literacy throughout. Now, one of the things I want to speak about is about the National African American Read-In, which is by the National Council of Teachers of English. And the National African American Read-In was a groundbreaking effort to encourage our communities to read together. And we're centering it on African American books and authors. So although our readers may vary, we want to center on books that are written by African American writers or Hispanic and or Asian cultures. And it was established in 1990 by the Black Caucus of the National Council of Teachers of English to make literacy a significant part of Black History Month. And this initiative has reached more than 6 million participants around the world. And I guess this is the first time in this environment, virtual, because of the COVID-19 that has engulfed the world, not just here in America, but everywhere in the world. And so it has put a hindrance, but definitely did not stop our outreach because we know there are other platforms that we can reach everyone. And so every February, they commemorate books that are written by Black authors that elevate that Black experience. And so they call this event the annual commemoration of Black letters, the African American Read-In. And I added the influence part. We coined that term, Read-InFluencers, because this is a read influence. We are influencing others and we're encouraging others to pick up a book and spread that literacy and spread your influence. And you spread your influence by reaching out to those around you, those within your household, and those within your community. Those are in your schools, those are in your workplace, encouraging the love of reading. And so everyone in different places, whether it be in schools, churches, libraries, bookstores, community professional organizations, and any interested citizen that we're urging to make a literacy a significant part of Black History Month. And by hosting this African American Read-In. And we have our Mighty on Text who are sponsoring this event, and also Cool, and spreading this literacy, because literacy will help you in every area. That is something that is a true story. So we know that this kind of event is going to be something that's just going to be so, so, so tremendous. And I heard a ding, ding. Did you hear that bell? I heard that bell. And let me tell you, I am so excited so excited for our special guest, Read-InFluencer. And I can't tell you how this person is definitely going to influence not just you, but everyone. Just everyone. Mighty on Tech, say hi.
Hi.
We have Miss Noelle Silver in front of us. And let me tell you, she is a multi-award winning technologist. And we know we love techs, right? Too bad she wasn't a Mighty Young Turks, but you know what? She was there in spirit, who specializes in conversational AI and voice technology, intelligent apps and agents, and responsible AI practices. And I know those are some big words, like what is Mrs. Melton talking about? But guess what? She's going to tell you all about it. And she has led teams at NPR, Microsoft, and Amazon. How many of you getting too many boxes from Amazon? We all are. And she is the founder of hashtag Love Influencers. Look at that. She already knew that. We belong together, influencers, and the AI Leadership Institute. She is passionate about mindful leadership, authentic personal branding, and the ethical and responsible use of technology in business. And I can say kudos for that. She was recently awarded the Microsoft Most Valuable Professional Award for Artificial Intelligence and is an influencer in voice and AI globally. So it's not just your neighborhood store, guys. She's in every neighborhood. Can we welcome Mrs. Noelle Silver? Everyone give your best hi, shout it out, turn those mics on, and
Hi.
Hi.
we are so humbled to have you here. I was telling them about Alexa and they were like, what?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I know. I was like, I really should have just said, Alexa, I kind of did that. That was a thing I did. So if you all have an Alexa device, have you ever spoken to Alexa? Sometimes it's on a phone or I have a device over there somewhere. You actually have to be careful because if I talk about Alexa, Alexa will be like, how can I help you?
I know. Sometimes Alexa has a mind of her own. I had to turn mine off just for our Zoom meet because Alexa would just be hearing through the doors. Yes, I don't have the answer to that.
That's right.
So Miss Silver, I can't tell you how proud and humbled that we are to have you. We have our Mighty on Text, and I have them from first grade. We have Lavender and we have Hi. Of course, that's not their real names, but we'll meet again, and I can introduce you to them personally because we really want to know how can we embark on this. And I tell them our philosophy is not your age, your gender, your socioeconomic status. It's not your grade. It's what you're taught, what you learn, and what you apply. So if it's taught to you and you learn it, you can apply it. You can build and you can create. And we're just so happy to see you. So, Miss Silver, how did you get started in tech?
Well, this is so it's really interesting. I always like to tell this story because it's important. Like some of my best, most favorite people in technology are not actually classically trained technologists. They have passion for all sorts of other things. And so I actually got into tech, I guess, at a very young age because my dad introduced me to science fiction. So my very first movie was Star Wars back in like a long time ago.
Oh, wow.
But he kept introducing me. I saw iRobot and The Day the Earth Stood Still, and just all these movies where it wasn't like he was teaching me to code. He was just teaching me to think about the world with technology all around you as if it was no big deal. And when I was a kid, that wasn't true. Like we had TV, but that was about it. There was no internet.
I know.
Right? So thinking, like watching these movies and reading these books that were all about talking to computers, it is bizarre that today I now I've built over 100 apps for Alexa, and it's bizarre that that's possible based on the fact when I was 6, I didn't think that would ever be possible.
Oh wow, 100 apps! Oh my goodness, I'm probably using one or two of them.
I hope so. Well, one of them is called mindfulness. So you can just say, Alexa, open mindfulness, and whatever you hear, that's mine.
Oh my goodness, I have to try that. Alexa,
Yes, or daily affirmation, Alexa open daily affirmation. That's me too. You'll
That's
see a common theme in all the ones I do, like affirmations and Christmas kindness, couples kindness, kitty kindness.
oh my goodness. Sounds so awesome. Is this something that everyone can do? I mean, can
Yes.
you do that like hashtag tomorrow?
Yes. And actually, am I allowed to like share my screen?
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to show you all Lavender, hi, Tiny. I'm going to show you something so cool right now. You, of course, you can't do this alone, but you can do it with an adult. But there is a website called blueprints.amazon.com.
Okay.
And what it allows you to do is build applications for Alexa with no code.
Wow.
Now, eventually, you're going to want to learn to code because that's where the fun is at. We get to do all
Right.
sorts of crazy stuff.
Absolutely.
But just to get started, to kind of this is how I got addicted to it. I was like, oh my gosh, I could build this. So let me show you a couple things that I've done. One for my kids. I have 4 children.
Oh,
One
you're
is
kidding me.
my youngest are 4 and 6. So not quite
Okay.
as old as you all are, but kind of approaching that. But like the school schedule, chore chart, right? All these things you could ask Alexa to do for you. But the fun is kind of similar to what we're going to do today, where I read you a book. You can actually create your own book, right? Here's this kid's fortune teller. You can create your own magic 8-ball. Do you know what that is? Like a magic 8-ball where you shake it
Oh,
up.
that's
You're
what
like,
you shake, right?
please, can I go to Hawaii?
Oh my goodness.
So all you have to do with some of these is just provide the information, right? Just give it the answers, and then Alexa will deliver that to whoever asks for it. It's pretty crazy. But one of my favorites is down here towards the bottom are these abilities to create interactive stories of your own.
Oh
My
my
son,
goodness.
who's now a teenager, when he was 9 years old, he created a unicorn story. That
Oh,
was now
that's
3
up our
years
alley. Unicorns. We love unicorns.
mythical unicorn
Yes,
trivia.
unicorn.
So super cool. And but now that skill over the pandemic has become so popular. He gets $60 a month from Amazon just to keep it going. Like
That
for
I heard
nothing.
the ring-a-ling-a-ling. I heard the ring-a-ling-a-ling of the bling bling bling.
Right? Like for for a kid, like that's decent. And
That
it's
is.
something that you built. This is what we call passive income. Like you build it once
Absolutely
and
is.
good things keep coming. And so these are some of those types of things. So really kind of cool. And of course, a shout out to moms and dads. But shout out to the moms. You can write one about your mom for Mom's Day. How amazing is it if Alexa knows a little bit about your mom and your mom could talk to it? It's pretty cool.
Oh my
Makes
goodness.
people smile. But anyway, so all of these, I'll just show you one super quickly so you can see what it looks like.
Okay.
But it's very quick. Like if you, for example, let's say, you all were going in and I don't know, Lavender, you like had a favorite woman that you like to quote. You could go research a bunch of quotes from them. And then all you have to do is, in order to build a skill, you'd say, Alexa, I want to hear cool female engineering quotes. And all you have to do is type in the quote and who said it over and over and over and over. You hit submit, and now Alexa has gotten smarter and knows exactly the quotes you provided based on that question. You could even create one for Mighty Young Techs. Cool things Mighty Young Techs say. And
Oh yes, that's what I would like. We would have put our name, Mrs. Silver. You are awesome.
yeah, so cool.
You're like our honorary Mighty Young Tech. We're gonna have to send you something. You know, we are so humbled that you are here. I can't tell you. And sharing this with I just feel so overwhelmed now. I'm ready to start like tomorrow. Like tomorrow. Right, Mighty Young Techs? I mean, we to just put our name out there and
It's
show
so cool, right?
the youth. I mean, show the youth that nothing is impossible. You have to put your mind to it. And guess what? Literacy started. So, Miss Silver, what advice would you like at this point in life would you have given your younger self?
Yes. Well, one thing. So I'll give you my somewhat sad-ish story, challenging story. When I was a little kid, I didn't really do well in school. It was hard for me. For some people, it's easy. For some people, it's hard, but they manage. For me, it was like just not good. And on top of that, I didn't really have a whole, now people ask me like, who was in your court, like cheering you on? Who was your sponsor, your coach? And I really never had anyone like that. You all are lucky because at least you have this, and now you have me. But I had nobody really. And so by the age of like, by third grade, I kind of was like, I'm not really sure how much this school thing I'm going to be interested in doing. I made it through middle school, barely, got to high school. And finally I was like, I really don't want to finish high school. So I applied to college early, got accepted, and I never finished high school. I just bailed and went to college.
Oh.
So I never got a degree. And then I went and got into college. Same thing. I went through a couple years of school and then was like, I don't really like it this way. I don't learn like this. The way I learn is like put my fingers on a keyboard and let me build something. That's why I built 100 skills. Not because I had 100 ideas, but because that's how I learned. I didn't learn by someone, I sit in a class and you talk to me. I learned by tell me what to do and I'll do it. And I'll do it so many times that it becomes part of me. And that's kind of my advice to, anyone who, no matter what, is that like, you don't have to follow the traditional path, but you do have to have persistence. You do have to have a positive attitude and good energy to carry you through times when things are tough. But at the end of the day, there's no script. Like I am the opposite of everybody that I ended up running into in my career. Like everyone was classically trained. Everyone finished high school.
Like a violinist.
I just kind of made my own way. But the only way and that's the other thing is being brown. And I don't have my hair today. Tomorrow I'll have my hair down. You can see my big old curly hair. But when, like being brown, having curly hair, looking different, it actually, it's interesting because I would, like when I first started, I actually looked like this. I would put my hair in a bun all the time. I would kind of hide parts of myself because I wanted to look like everyone else. And guess what? Everyone else looked the opposite of me. They had light skin and light hair and light eyes. They all looked the same and I looked different. And so I would try and mold myself to look like them. And my advice now is like, I actually, the change or the difference that I brought in the way that I thought made everything I touched better. And as a result, I've done every cool job you can think of because my perspective was uniquely needed. Like, so it's so important, I think, that, my younger self would know it's okay to be yourself. It's okay to let your hair down. You don't have to wear glasses to look smart. Like we now, all of us have these like digital glasses, because back before they were cool, I would wear these so people would be like, oh, she must be smart, because the default would be, oh, well, she's a Latina. I'm not really sure. I'm not sure you're technical enough. Let me just tell you, that's when I went, instead of writing 1, I write 100 because I'm not going to let it go down like that. So I just say,
that is wonderful. You are so
gotta persevere.
Your exuberance shows. I can feel it right through the screen. Absolutely. And I feel so excited. I'm telling you, I'm ready to start tomorrow. I'm going
so cool.
to that. The Mighty in Text, that's our new project. We're going to put our name on it, and we're inspired by Miss Noelle Silver.
That's right. And I'll help you.
Throw her name right out there. So the next question I was going to ask you is, what do you do to keep up your energy and positive attitude besides yourself?
Yes, and I don't know how old you all are.
Drink that juice there.
But when I was about 7 years old, my dad introduced me to, it wasn't called meditation, or that's not what he called it, but it was like breathing. And so he would, like, I'd get upset about something, he'd be like, just breathe. Just sit down and take a couple deep breaths. And at 6 or 7, I started to do that pretty consistently. And now I teach my littles to do it in the same way. Or I'm not like, sit down and meditate and listen to calming music. It's literally like in those moments where you want your emotion is like raring to react, that you create distance between whatever's happening and your reaction. And you could still react the same way. You could still be mad, but you create distance between the thing that's happening and your decision to react to it. And so whenever something, now it's a habit, but I had to cultivate that habit. So one of the things that keeps me from like losing my cool or realizing how grateful I am about things is every single day I spend time just quiet, breathing in this. I don't have music on. I just close my eyes and I spend time in the silence. And what it allows me to do, and you'll notice this, if you stop talking, your brain fills the gap. So all sorts of thoughts start coming up. And in this moment, the nice thing that you can do is you can just examine the kind of thoughts that you're having and be like, I'm worried about shopping. That's interesting. Oh, I have, I want to be things that would come up for me is like, I want to be a better friend, or I want to do something nice for my mom, or I really want to do well on this homework assignment, but I'm overwhelmed by it. And these thoughts would just come up.
Yeah.
And I would, if I didn't get quiet and listen to that, instead, I would just feel anxious and I wouldn't really understand why. I wouldn't have any way of like understanding, like, why do I feel yucky right now? And that silent time in my mornings is when I can kind of dissect that and pick it apart and be like, why do I feel yucky right now? Oh, it's because I have this thing coming up and it's making me nervous. What can I do to feel less nervous about that? Oh, I could prepare more, or I could call the person, or I could do something like this that feeds my heart, right? So, so quiet time.
It's like a self-assessment.
Yes, that's right.
Like what's
reflection. People call it all sorts of different things, but yes, it's super helpful.
Pay for it.
Even 1 minute. So one of my most popular skills on Alexa, mindfulness, is called 1 minute of mindfulness. And it's literally just being quiet for 1 minute. And so many people told me when I first launched it, they're like, nobody wants a minute. They want 5 minutes. They want an hour. And I was like, we could change the world if everyone took 1 minute and were silent.
That is true. 1 minute. We just need.
That's all you need sometimes. It's just 1 minute to breathe.
That's true. That's very true. We don't get that moment. We call it a moment, but it's really a minute that we need. That is so excellent. That is good advice. And that's something that I'm going to hold dear to I'm definitely going to look at that mindfulness. I need that minute.
Yes.
And my mind and text need that minute too. Everybody needs a minute. So what is one of your favorite experiences in your career so far? I mean, you could narrow it down to that favorite one.
Yes. So I've had a pretty, blessed career so far. And a couple of years ago, I was sought out by some team to work on a couple really cool projects. So I'll talk about a couple of them. One of them was there's this place in Europe, in the UK called Abbey Road, and it's where like the Beatles,
the Beatles, where they crossed over for that album
like
cover,
musical mecca where all these amazing artists and musicians have played, and they decided to do their first ever hackathon. Do you guys know what a hackathon is?
I don't.
All right, so a hackathon.
It sounds.
It's so fun.
5th grade.
It's basically, you've heard of like hacks, right? Like
my daughter has heard of it. She must have been a part of that hackathon.
That's right. So I see a hackathon in Mighty Young Tech's future.
Oh yeah.
We get together and we think about a problem we want to solve.
Okay.
And then we literally just over 2 days, we dedicate 2 days to figuring out how to solve it. And you just pull all sorts of things. Like it's literally the idea of how like McDonald's decided to create drive-throughs because they hacked about the idea of like, banking uses drive-throughs. That's pretty cool. We should do that. And they added it to the food and poof, a whole new industry was born.
Wow.
So what we found is that hackathons bring together people who are passionate about the problem. So this is like me. I have a son. My oldest has Down syndrome. I don't know if you're familiar or know anyone who has that. But he's awesome, but it's a cognitive disability, so it makes it hard for him to use traditional technology.
Right.
And then my dad has a traumatic brain injury, so he also struggles. So I'm always hacking on like, how do I make life for those kinds of people easier? And of course, Alexa, being a voice activated service, is one way to do that. So hackathons are really just dedicated little sprints of time, 2 days maybe, where you sit down and try to solve a problem with technology in a completely innovative way, like no holds barred. You just throw stuff against the wall and see what sticks. And
so is the time frame static? It has to be 2 days. You can't go beyond that.
It could be 1 day. It could be sometimes. So in the good old days when we met in person and hung out, we would actually do it for 2 days nonstop. So we would start on a like Friday night and we'd work through the night. So I'd have shirts that say like eat, sleep, code, repeat, and then the sleep would be crossed out. So you would just work
go past that.
Yeah, you would just work all night to try and build something like that no one's ever seen before. And it's just fun because it's not like you're trying to build a product. You're not trying to sell anything. you're just trying to do something fun, and it is super engaging for the brain. It's part of developing like a growth mindset, right? Where you're constantly, you're not thinking inside the box, you're literally purposely like breaking that box apart and building a circle instead.
When do you when did these hackathons happen? Like, is it just sporadic, or
Yeah, so you, for example, the Mighty Techs, you guys could have your own, and you just set it as a schedule, just like you would do any, like this event. Instead of doing an event like this, you'd get online and do a hackathon, and you'd say, okay, we're going to solve a problem around you know, little, like young kids in tech. How are we going to get them to get access to more technology? And so someone might come in and be like, oh my gosh, wouldn't it be cool if we did the HoloLens? Here's a fun project. So there's a project at Amazon called Deep Racer. And what it does is it allows you to take a remote control car, and you get to program it like an autonomous vehicle. Like, does that make sense? Have you seen that before? Lavender High, tiny, like it's like a remote control car, but you make it into like basically a car that runs by itself. So you feed it in artificial intelligence, and then it runs around a racetrack, and then you end up racing it against each other, right? You each program your own little car, you let it go on its own, and then you see how well it makes decisions about turning corners and not running into things. And it's super fun, but it's a game.
How would we do, Noelle, if we don't have the resources? Because we follow the engineering design process. Do we have the resources? Do we have the money? Do we have the time? We say, well, we have lots of times. We have no money.
Yes.
We have the resources. We have the resources. We build a lot from cardboard and recycled goods. So how can we start from there and be innovative and creative at that same point?
Yes. Well, so I don't know if you've heard about this, but Google Cardboard, have you heard of Google Cardboard?
Yes, Google Cardboard, yes.
Yeah. So it's a similar idea, right? They also were like, oh, everyone's not going to go out and buy this massive VR headset to figure this out. So similarly, though, Amazon, AWS, Amazon Web Services, and they're part of the organization that built Alexa.
Yeah, I'm subscribed to that, but I haven't started using it.
So inside AWS, there is a Deep Racer program, and there's actually an Educate program. So they provide funding for exactly these types of projects. So we need to get together.
I like funding.
That's right.
I like funding.
It'll be so fun.
So excellent. You are just a wealth of information, and
I don't have to calm down.
Yeah, I mean, you're just awesome here. So so what was an experience then? So you shared one of your favorite experience, and I'm sure you have so many more because you're just so exuberant. And I can't imagine you not being involved in anything. But what
I make it good.
That where you felt the most challenged then?
Yeah. So one thing I always say, and it's kind of funny if you're familiar with like the show. There's a show where they use this term, "Winter is coming," and I try to encourage. It sounds like not necessarily encouragement, but I've learned over the last 20 years of my career that I have experienced consistent winters in my career where things seemed dark, desolate, nothing was growing, things were terrible. To give you a very specific experience, and this might it blew me away when it happened. Just a couple years ago, I was working at a company. I was doing really well. I had gotten an award. Everyone loved me. And then literally a month after I was given that award, I was fired and escorted out of the building.
Wow.
And I was like, shocked. However, because of my mindset and because of the way that I just have trained my mind on like, hey, bad things happen all the time.
Right.
That wasn't like, I didn't allow that to become my story. You know, sometimes when something bad happens, it's the first thing you say. You're like, oh my gosh, this thing happened today. It's so bad.
Yes.
It allowed me to realize there's always going to be something. It might be years between certain bad things, but when the bad things happen, knowing that is really, as soon as something bad happens, I'm like, all right, how is this going to work out? Right? What's the good outcome on this? And so I got fired. A year later, that very same company awarded me with their top recognition in the industry. So but it could have, the only reason they did that is because I instantly went into solution mode. I instantly went into like, okay, that happened. I'm going to keep doing my thing, keep doing what I'm good at, keep participating in the community and helping people. And so they ended up recognizing that later.
Okay.
But the opposite.
Is there an emoji for that? or
Yeah.
did you make a meme?
I was actually thinking about making one called like a unicorn ninja.
Okay.
But yes,
I can imagine your face. Yes.
that's right. But it's tough, you know, like it's really
tough.
it's tough when those bad things happen, and so many of us tend to like settle into the
Yes,
sadness.
internalize it more than they need to.
Yes,
That's very good for the youth because many times the youth always feel failure and not understanding that sometimes it's a step to success by not giving up and having a different mindset.
that's right. And I'd even say like failure is absolutely every single time a step to success,
Yes.
because you will not get around without it. Bad things are going to happen. And I will tell you, I mean, I've had like horrible things. Like I, ended up alone with 2 kids. I ended up like getting fired and not having a job. I ended up like having, really bad situation happen that was like traumatic for my family. And all of those things, like I had to figure out how fast can I get to that point where we're like, wow, that was a bad thing. Right? How fast can you get to the other side? How can you become an overcomer where your story, as soon as something bad happens, like all right, I'll give you 90 minutes to like wallow in the sadness of it. But then it's time to like get to work. Like how do we make that part of something that can inspire someone? Right? How can you tell that story to someone and they're like, I can't believe you made it through that. That's amazing. Whatever's wrong in my life, maybe it's not so bad anymore.
And you know what? This is why appearances are tricky, because if you look look like you just swam through everything. They just kept, here she comes. Come on in, Miss Silver. Come on in.
No trouble.
And then to see that, and for our youth to understand it, and even some adults who may be in a troublesome spot right now, the inspiring words that you give, like, it really is your mindset. What do I do next? Because sometimes those doors have to completely close for you to shine at your best.
That's right.
Because we can get stuck in a rut and we're never forced to make that decision. And in your case, it absolutely made it a huge difference. And you'll also learn from that. You say, wait, it was the way I thought about things and the way I approached it and the way I responded to it that changed the outcome. That is excellent. That is so excellent. So in this experience, so AI, artificial intelligence, I feel like, I don't know, that we're going to have clones of everybody and everything one day. Now, that soon cometh, right? As they say. But what advice would you give someone like myself or my Mighty on Text or the audience who's listening, to someone who wants to get into AI, into artificial intelligence? Like, what's the first steps? I mean, we go out.
Yeah, so my
parts, I don't know.
I have been in tech for like 20 years and all of it was not AI. Only the last 7 years did I get into artificial intelligence, and specifically it was started with Alexa, now much broader, but started with Alexa. But what was interesting is when Alexa became like an opportunity, many people look at opportunities where you don't know what you're doing, where you're not sure about the job, you don't even think you could do the job, and they kind of shy away and look for the comfort. And one thing I did with Alexa is I was like, this is cool. And remember, top of my mind is, how do I make the world better for my dad and my son? And like, I'm constantly thinking, how does technology improve? So when Alexa came out, I was like, this is an answer to those problems. Right. Now, I knew nothing about AI when I got into Alexa. Nothing about voice, nothing about conversational technology, nothing. Never talked to a device before then. Maybe I tried to talk to Siri, but I don't know if you've ever talked to Siri.
No.
It's not awesome. So Lavender knows what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's not great. So when I got into Alexa, and I certainly never built anything that other people would use, I have over 1 million unique users of my skills. Like, that's crazy because I don't do that. I'm just a normal person. But what made it possible, and this is what I tell people, if you like AI, which I did, you can learn it. You can go and do what I did. I basically I read a book and I did what it said. It would say, like, go to your laptop and type this in, get a GitHub repo, copy this code, recreate it. I did one, and this is part of what we call a master learner or a super learner.
Okay.
If you want to acquire any knowledge, one of the things you can do, and it's kind of equivalent, I don't think I have a good example, but it's equivalent to like an artist. When they first start out, they use a paper that's almost see-through. right? It's like tracing paper. And they
Okay.
put it over a super complex work of art and they trace the whole thing. And the reason they do that is to create muscle memory in their brain and in their arm to do these things that they've never done before. And
Okay.
in tech, we do the same thing. We go to people who've done it, like Microsoft, Amazon, Google have all published works, like all published code. And you can copy that code just like an artist would trace over a masterpiece. And it is, and that's what I did to create my skills. I literally just, the first 7 skills were replicas of skills that already were out there. But then after my 3rd one, I was like, oh, I'm starting to get this. I could take a little piece over here and a little piece over here. And now you start to like, you start to add your own flavor.
Okay.
And then by the time you get to like 50 or 60 of them, it's basically all, it's like music. You're just composing new things from all the different elements that you.
That is wonderful analogy there to compare to music, because music just seems to someone untrained and just a bunch of little black dots and lines and whatever. You can read it, I can't, but it really does take practice and making that connection. That is a wonderful analogy.
Yeah.
And but the thing is, like, they have these blueprints that you can trace. It looks very intricate, kind of like a map of the subway. You ever see the map of the subway? There's little, and you got to follow the colored lines and so on.
Right.
That is interesting, and this tells us a lot about where we could start at and what we have to focus on. I can't, I could have not said it any better than you have. And just you're just so lively. I just can't imagine that you went through anything.
You're awesome. I love it. I love being
So
with you.
you said that you built a few applications for Alexa, Amazon Alexa. So tell us about that experience and some of your favorite skills.
Yeah. So one of the things when I first started, there were no skills on Alexa. Like, it was brand new. Now there are over 100,000 skills or applications for Alexa, but at the time there weren't very many. So the nice thing about that is and I encourage you to think about this if you're moving into any new area, is think, how do you uniquely, things that you care about, things that you're passionate about,
right?
How do you uniquely bring that into this area of tech, in my case, into Alexa? So when I went to Alexa, Alexa itself had no skills on mindfulness, kindness, random acts of kindness, positive prayer, affirmations, didn't have any of that. And that was me. I mean, if anybody looks at me on the street, they're like, that's an affirmation, like, in action.
Right.
So I took what was uniquely Noel and I like overlaid it on top of the space I wanted to go into. And again, this is true whether it's, it could be science, technology, art. I mean, it could be math. You could take what things that you love, and then you can actually superimpose it on top of a technology space or an art space or a music space. And it becomes like just another way of sharing yourself with the world. And so that's what these skills ended up becoming for me, is ways that I could help the world do something that I really valued. And it turned out that I'm not alone. And so those skills became very, very popular. So some of my favorites are, of course, the ones I mentioned, the ones that I've built, like mindfulness and daily affirmation. But there's other really cool ones out there, like one's called the Vortex. And it is a choose your own adventure where you walk through the door and it's like, look to the right and the left. Oh, there's a key. Do you pick it up or do you pass it? And you have to make these choices along the way, and you make different choices every time you play. So sometimes I pick the key up, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I open the door, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I talk to the old lady under the tree, sometimes I don't. And it's a different experience every time, depending on the combination.
It's kind of like what I do with the Money and Text, the escape the room type, to see what happens. See, they know. I told them it's a different kind of skill and different kind of thinking. Believe me, I have them engaged in so many things, but this sounds interesting. I like when you say uniquely Noel. For some reason, as soon as you said that, I thought that's an app all by itself, uniquely Noel. And it's a play on words because, what do we say to people during the holidays? That would be uniquely Noel. I mean, some people run out of things to say. That's why we go buy those cards, but now we can't find card stores anymore. Something we cannot get those words out there. That is so interesting. So where do you see conversational and applied artificial intelligence going in the next 5 years?
So the reason I think that's such an interesting question, because right now, like 5 years ago, Alexa, or let's say 6 years ago, Alexa didn't really exist. Most of us didn't know who that was or what it was. And now I say it to you, and you, even as young people, know what that is.
Yes.
So, and now I just showed you, you have the ability to take something in your head, a story, an idea, and you could put it on Alexa. So in the next 5 years, my hope is that people that are not technologists, that are not just engineers, that are not just 20 years and older, they're
Yeah.
not the only ones building content for these platforms. They're
Yeah.
not, you know, one of the things you had mentioned, Lovefluencers is one of my brands. And what Lovefluencer teaches is that you at any age have a story that the world wants to hear. And it might not be your story. Maybe it's a story you made up. Maybe it's a story like the authors that we're reading from, right? But there's something like there's a voice that you have. And the sooner you start to hone that voice and talk out loud and say things, the sooner you'll start to go, oh, I believe that. Or, oh, I don't believe that. Yeah, that's true for me. Oh, this isn't true for me. And so that's one of the things I encourage. Like, we all know influencers. There's people on
Yeah.
Instagram and people on Facebook that are influencers. And sometimes they're shiny. Like, you know, I'm not like all done up. I don't have like fancy clothes. But my hope is that there's a whole generation of people that are influencers, but they're more like the empathetic, you know, best friend kind of,
Yes.
we'd hang out together if we could kind of influencers. And I kind of see that in the group here, right? Like
Yes.
that's who we want to be. We want to be influential, but we also kind of want to be fun and nice and
Oh, absolutely.
empathetic and kind and like coming from a place of service to the world,
Yes.
as opposed to maybe driving, you know, a product or pay, you know, some agenda where we want someone to buy something. Like,
Yeah.
I think there's a whole nother world of influence that's
Yes.
available.
I tell my guys every day, you must laugh. Get your one good laugh in the day, and that really just sets your whole tone. So, what final thoughts? And I'm going to ask you that question after you read the book,
Okay.
because the book that you chose, I Am Enough, I can't even
Try
explain.
not
I
to
love
cry.
this book. You know, and I was surprised who the author was. You know, when she wrote the book, I was like, what? Because I really didn't like her in the show. You know, you're
Yeah.
like, wait a minute, that can't be the same person. But see how, you know, art sometimes doesn't imitate life.
That's right.
This is one of those moments, and I was like, wait a minute, she couldn't have written that book.
Yeah.
But she did. And it's become one of our favorites. We have read it in our readings when we had it in school before, pre-COVID. And I'm so glad you chose that book, and I want to share it with everybody. So let me just put that up.
Oh, great.
And you're going to be exuberant as you are. Remove my face so I'm not in the way of the words, and ready
All
to go.
Change my view. All right.
You could pin my screen large if you need to.
Thank you. I will do that. Maybe if I know the magic that is. Okay, I think we're good. All right. I Am Enough by Grace Byers. Like the sun, I'm here to shine.
How do you pin people's screen?
Oh, can you see it? Okay. Like the voice, I'm here to sing. Like the bird, I'm here to fly and soar high over everything. Like the trees, I'm here to grow. Like the mountains, here to stand. Like time, I'm here to be and be everything I can. Like the champ, I'm here to fight. Like the heart, I'm here to love. Like a ladder, I'm here to climb, and like the air to rise above. Like the wind, I'm here to push. Like a rope, I'm here to pull. Like the rain, I'm here to pour and drip and fall until I'm full. Like the moon, I'm here to dream. like the student here to learn, like the water here to swell, like the fire here to burn, like the winner, I'm here to win, and if I don't, get up again. I know that I may sometimes cry, but even then, I'm here to try. I'm not meant to be like you, and you're not meant to be like me. Sometimes we will get along, and sometimes we will disagree. I know that we don't look the same, our skin, our eyes, our hair, our frame. But that does not dictate our words. We both have places here on earth. And in the end, we are right here to live a life of love, not fear. To help each other when it's tough, and to say together, I am enough. It's so good.
That is so wonderfully read. I mean, that
I'm
is,
like almost gonna cry.
I know, you know, I think this story um was so impactful, you know, because of the reason that we don't feel that we're enough. And I think that your story, your short story that you just gave us today shows that we are never finalized.
Right.
We are enough, but we need to give more and more. We need to express who we are. And I can tell you that your life story proves that. Just uniquely Noel. You need to remember that.
I know. I'm like, maybe that's a book or something.
Yes, it sounds like a book.
Or
Uniquely
a little kid's
Noel.
book. Aw.
Uniquely Noel. And it's starting off with the, you know, the sob story, what's going on and what's happening in your life. And you're like, wait a minute, stop everything.
Yeah.
Because my mind is different. And I think the positivity that exuberates from you, I think it just enlightens the whole room. I could feel it coming through. And I know my Mighty and Text have felt it too in our audience. I can tell you that it's very inspirational, and you picked the perfect book that represents you. It actually represents you in some ways. And I know the actors, that's why I was just dumbfounded. I was like, wait a
That's
minute.
probably why I get all teary-eyed when I read it.
I was like, it's a mistake. She didn't write that book because, you know, if you watch, I only watched the Empire for a little while, and I became very annoyed because her character, and she said it was so unlike her. She did say it was unlike her, but you know, it
But
was,
still, it's hard, especially as, yes, I'm with you
she
100%.
played her role well, like Erica Kane from the.
Yes, exactly. And if I ran into Erica Kane on the street, she'd be Erica Kane to me.
Yeah, like you, why did you do that? You know,
It's so true. It's so true.
it's so amazing how we just get influenced by what we see on television,
Yeah.
and not in our interactions, our personal interactions with people. You know, sometimes we're so animated, we don't even realize that. But that is such a great story. I Am Enough, and Grace Byers, good for her for putting that book out there, and it's a privilege for us. And we're so humbled again for having you here and to taking that time. And I know you're going to be with us tomorrow, and you're going to fill us with your sunshine and your
Yes, we're
curly
going
hair.
to talk about curly hair. So
You did that story, Hair Love, when that came out, won that award. That I, you know, when I was at the school, when I did it last year, I had not a bad hair day. So everyone came in and said, don't do anything to your hair, just do like it is.
yes,
Teachers, students, we all just joined in and we took this not a bad hair day. Because
nice.
you know, we always feel like it's a bad hair, like forget it, just leave it, put it, you know, we go into proverbial ponytail, right?
Wrap it up as hard as
And you know what's interesting is that the boys didn't relate to this. What do you mean? You think you have bad hair too? No. I said, okay, then why are you wearing that hat? And they're like, oh yeah. No, my hat. They put the hat on. You say, okay, or they put the hat on either because they got a haircut or their hair needs to be cut.
Yep,
It's always one or the other.
that's right.
And women with ponytails, pigtails, or the bun. And sometimes we wear a cap.
Yeah.
Sometimes we wear a cap. So
that's a really rough day.
So,
but I have a NASA hat. I really, NASA's all in the news these days, the Mars rover. So I have a NASA hat that I would wear proudly today, whether I had a good hair day or not. But.
Yes, absolutely. So I can tell you, so I know that this book is something that's endeared, but why did you particularly pick it? Why did you pick it?
I picked it because it was very much almost like you just said, it resonated with the way that I think. Like, I'm always thinking like, how am I authentically me is like as much as possible. It's one of the reasons I got recently an award for being the #1 speaker to have at an AI, like an artificial intelligence event. And the reason why is because when I get on stage, just like now, like Lavender and Tiny, and I feel like I know you and we're talking like we're friends. And so many times when people get into this world of like talking and doing podcasts, something changes and they talk about a product or they talk about a thing and you never really get to see them. And so that's what I felt when I read this book was like, you can be you and be a technologist and be an artist and be a doctor and be a school teacher. Like you can be you. And really that kind of goes to that last question about, the final advice that I'd give. Like that's what I would tell you is that we actually need you, all of you, mighty young techs. Yeah. We need you to bring yourself because we need diversity in the way we think. We need someone who comes in who cares about animals, someone who comes in who cares about human health, someone who cares about mental health, someone who cares about kids with Down syndrome, someone who cares about grandpas who can't read anymore. Somebody has to bring to that table the ideas that are different than what everyone else is thinking. And so don't be afraid to be
bilingual. Are there as many bilingual Alexa apps? I don't really, there aren't. Oh.
So there is an entire, if I lived in a Hispanic country, there is an Alexa that was deployed to, for example, Spain and Mexico, and it only speaks Spanish. And I think if you go into the apps, you can change the language of Alexa to Spanish, but it's not like a bilingual app. It's not like English speaking Alexa is speaking Spanish. It's more like you've chosen Hispanic Alexa.
I see what you're saying.
But it is possible. Yes. And Italian, French, German. There's Alexas in multiple languages today.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's interesting because the way that you were expressing yourself, it seems like you are saying, and I agree, in the near future, I think we're going to be multi-careers. Like we're not just going to have one career that we're embarking on. I think, and I think the generations is proving that we can do a lot more than just our title.
Yes.
Has kind of cornered us in, and that we can actually spread it out. We don't have to think that we cannot do something.
That's right. You might start off as like a product, like someone who cares about building a product and defining what it looks like. And then you might get interested and be like, oh, I'll tell you a story. I just met this woman young in her career, and she was working for a hospital, and she found out that hospital had a bunch of data and no one in the hospital knew what to do with it. So you know what she did? And this is what this generation can do, is they could have a job, find out that there's a problem, and she chose to go get like educated. She went, took a certification on data analytics and artificial intelligence, came back to the hospital and said, I know what to do with that data now. We could solve problems now, right? And that's just, we didn't do that in the 80s or the 90s or the, 2000s. It wasn't like we went into a company looking for ways. We call it intrapreneurs. Like instead of starting your own business, going into an existing company and creating opportunity from within. I never really thought of doing that when I was younger.
No.
To see this woman do that and then be successful at it, and the company recognizing her value there. And of course, she was a woman of color. So I was like, yay. A really, really great and inspiring story.
Well, I think we didn't ask the question of the time. What are you? You know how people always say, well, what are you? Well, I don't know what you mean by that.
Yeah, human.
It's like they ask me the same thing. What are you? And I'm like, I'm a woman.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you? Like they have to restate it as if you didn't understand. And I'll tell you, I am Black and Chinese.
Oh,
it's Chinese. So, but I always get called Philippine, Samoan, Hawaiian, and everything else, or sometimes Dominican, Cuban. So it depends on where I'm at and my accent at the time
Yes.
that I would be international rather. So I'm going to say, like everyone, what are you?
Yes, so my mother is Puerto Rican.
Oh,
And so she,
Boricua.
yes, so she looks like African American. She's got like very tight afro like hair, dark skin. My dad is English, I guess. He's from England. His dad is from England. His mom is from Canada.
From
He's a
England.
white guy, blonde hair, blue
Okay.
eyed. And so I am a wonderfully mixed race child.
Okay. So
yeah.
that's why you look Puerto Rican.
That's right. I have a and I have 4 kids. 2 of them look like me, and 2 of them look like white kids. I'm like, one of them has blue eyes. I'm like, I swear it's mine.
You know, that's interesting because my children too are dark skinned, some of them, and some are light skinned. And my daughter, she came out with green eyes.
Ooh.
And I said, that's my baby. And my husband said, it better be, right? So I was like, no, it is. So the genes, the recessive genes went down and they just pulled out the green eyes. And I'm happy. Now, she's toned down. They know her, Kitty, right? Has hazel eyes. And so it's just so interesting how the Black culture, people don't understand how it's so broad. We can go from the lightest to light to
my
dark
kids,
to dark.
Technically, I have 2 kids that are brown like me, but they're all exactly the same. They're all like me. They're all at least half Puerto Rican. But it's just weird how the world will see them, right? Some will be seen, you know, as white, and some will be seen as not white, and that's just weird to me.
Yeah.
I'm like,
That's because we define people by their color.
Yes.
Not necessarily their culture, but their color. So if you're dark skin, you must be Black.
Right.
If you're very, very light, you must be white. And if you're in between, you're something. You know, you're something.
I'm building a whole generation of somethings.
Yes, absolutely. And this is why it's important that, you know, we want to advance literacy and we want to spread it, and we want to spread our influencers. You are definitely a Read-InFluencer. I cannot tell you an AI influencer. You can hashtag that. Okay. And I just tell you that literacy is so critical in helping us make a sense of our world. From the time we're born, we should start reading. We should start experiencing these moments and just knowing that, because literacy leads, besides reading, it leads to writing, and it leads to good thinking, thoughts, and putting it down on paper. Because if we put our thoughts on paper, we will increase our knowledge of whatever subject matter we have, tracing or not. We're going to need that, and it's from the time we're born that whole journey begins. And I told them and everyone else, it never stops. It definitely never stops. We have 1 minute. If you could give us just one line to leave with us until we see you tomorrow, because we're gonna live on. I don't think we're gonna have any sleep. We're just so excited now. We want to start building and creating right away. But if you could leave us with one line, what would you tell us, Noelle?
I would say, I just want to build on what you said. There's this concept called homework for life. And what it means is that every day you like take a book. I have journals everywhere, but take a book or a sheet of paper or do it online, and you write every day. You write 1 sentence about your day. 1 sentence. You don't have to write a bunch. You don't even have to like writing. But what you'll find is every single day you'll write a sentence, and it'll be about some memory. And that memory, if you don't write it down, especially when you get to our age, and we've got lots of these days, you won't remember one memory in one day. Like, you will look back and go, 5 years ago, can I think of one thing I did on one special day? I can't. And so homework for life gives you this opportunity to just, it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't even have to seem important to you. But even a month from now,
just one sentence?
One sentence of one memory. It could be more than one if you're excited about it, like write as much as you want. But at the very minimum, 1 sentence about something. Like today, you might be like, oh my gosh, I met my new friend Noelle. She was so cool.
Oh yes, absolutely. We want to move in with you. Where do you live? We want to live next door to you. So
Miami.
parties, hackathon parties.
But
every
I say,
2 days.
like that's one of the things I use to drive a lot of gratitude is just writing one positive statement about something that happened every single day. And then I can look back and be like, oh my gosh, I remember that was a good day. And the reality is there might have been ugly stuff that happened that day, but I don't have to remember that. So it's really cool.
That is so awesome. And I tell you that, again, we are humbled that you're here. And we're even more excited to see you tomorrow because I know you're going to have some
Here,
more
love, go.
information to give us and to our visiting. If you are just joining us, oh, it's too bad because we're ready to end. But I tell you what, join us tomorrow, 5:30 to 8:30 to hear our wonderful guest speaker, special AI, Noelle Silver. And I don't want to give any hints away because I want to tell you that you got to meet her. This is a person you want to live next door to. Absolutely. The creator, the inventor, everything just friendly and exuberant. You could just feel her spirit come right through the screen. So don't forget, tomorrow we're working on spreading literacy, spreading your influence, being a Read influencer. And remember, I said we're going to work on those t-shirts, guys. You want to be a novice Read influencer, you want to be a junior Read influencer, and you want to be a senior and a master Read influencer, because that is what life is all about, guys. And I will see you tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. And if we're doing strong, we might just go to the end of the month. How about that? Join us, guys, tomorrow. Bye-bye. Ciao, ciao. Hearts.
So fun.
Bye.